everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been forever since I've last posted, but first and foremost, I want to say Happy New Year. 2017 is here, thank God. Not that 2016 wasn't good, but let me tell you, it was a lot of things going on with me, and that's one of the main reasons why I stopped posting. But it's a new year and I'm getting back into the swing of things, and so what I want to bring to you guys in this video is a little bit of my top favorites for what I read in 2016. I know it's a little delayed, but hey, it is what it is. 2016 was a really big reading year for me. Well, not really big as far as in numbers, but just getting back into reading. So I wanted to bring to you guys a little bit of what I read and touch on a little bit of what I have coming up for 2017. So I'm really excited to get into it. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see or if you have any questions about what I read, what I thought about it, I'll touch on it briefly, but I'm not going to get a full synopsis on every single book. Or if you want to know where I got them from, sort of, you know, discounts, bargains that I found in getting these books, because they can get a little expensive, just put the comments down below. And if you like what you see, then click subscribe. You know, this year is going to be a big year for the tube, big year for this channel. And yeah, so let's get started. These books aren't in any particular order. I don't really like to rate my books based upon, you know, what was my favorite, because I think each one of these books are my favorites for their own reasons. And I'm a very eclectic reader. So as you can see, this collection is very diverse, and that's the sort of person I am. If I read sci-fi one week, then the next week I'm picking up contemporary. After I put down contemporary, I'm picking up a nonfiction. So, you know, I like to go back and forth to keep my reading fresh and to prevent me from getting into some sort of reading slump or, you know, just too caught up in trying to finish. Me, I'm a slow reader. I like to digest what I'm reading. I like to reflect. And so these books really help me, you know, get into the habit of reading for me and sort of allowing these books to help me develop in some sort of way, whether it be reading, writing, personal, spiritual. Yeah, so let me stop talking because I'm rapping. The first book I want to talk about that I read in 2016 was the Autobiography of Assata Shakur. I touched on this in my last I was reading this in my last video, I believe, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but basically I really enjoyed this book because I had never really read an autobiography before. Sadly to say, when I was reading in high school and in college, it was mostly fiction novels, sci-fi or fantasy. So this one really intrigued me because it puts you in where she was. Of course, it's coming from first person, but at the same time, it's going back into her past and is coming back into the future, and it sort of has overlapping parts of her life to where you can see how this part of her life influenced her decisions in this part. And then I really like that, you know, she had her own writing, like her own poetry mixed in as well, and it just blew me away basically of how much she went through, how much she triumphed over all of her adversity. And it was it kept me turning the pages. It was a great book. I would recommend this to anyone if you haven't read autobiographies before, or if you're into, I think that every person of color or black young person or even, you know, white person could read this book. I think it really gives hindsight into where we are now as far as the political injustices that we're seeing today, and it's history repeats itself. And that's what really intrigued me, is a lot of the things that they were going through in this book or that she experienced, many individuals can relate to today. So very good book. I recommend it to anyone. And yeah, last year was very trying for me spiritually. You know, I just felt exhausted, mentally and emotionally drained. And a lot of times as a counselor, we teach self-care and, you know, dealing with the mental and emotional things, but we don't do that for ourselves. So I really took the time last year to really just break myself down and build it back up. So a book that really helped with that was The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a very short read, but it's very impactful in what it was saying. The 4 agreements, I'm just gonna run through them, are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And it sort of goes into what each one of these categories means. And this book gave me a whole different perspective of how to view things. And one of the main things that stuck with me the most was don't make assumptions. And I realized how much throughout the day, throughout our lives, throughout our personal interactions with each other, we don't actually ask questions or try and find out the truth and what is and what isn't. We always make assumptions based upon what we see, what we've heard, or what someone else has told us. And so that really just set the tone for 2016 for me, really just being about emerging myself into what life is and finding myself and, you know, always questioning things, not because, you know, I don't believe it or because, you know, I'm trying to counter what someone else is saying, but because I need to find my own voice and my own truth in what I believe. I read this in like a day. So I think if you guys are looking for a book that, you know, will do you some good, you know, that's a quick read. If you're not a big reader, I think you should definitely pick up this book. I got this from Thrift Books, and I think I got Assata from Amazon. So you guys, and this is a very popular book, so you could probably find it in any bookstore, but definitely a good read. The next book I have is, it's a very popular book. You guys have probably seen this on my Instagram before or seen me talk about this on my channel, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This book I had heard a lot about. A lot of people read this in high school or middle school, and I had never read it, but I've always been interested in, you know, learning about alchemy, things like that, things that I don't know. But it's a fiction book, and it really got me back into the love of storytelling. A lot of the books that I was reading, you know, for school was just very dry, very fact-based, just very step-by-step. Here it is, there you go, you're done. No really reflective. So this book, you know, it follows the main character, and, you know, he's like a goat herder or sheep herder or something like that. And, you know, he's just going through his life. You know, he realizes that he wants these things and he has to go and follow his dreams. Okay, I don't know what that was. Go and follow his dreams, but at the same time, it's like, you know, he wants different things. And as he progresses, you see his growth and maturity and realizing, you know, some of these things that I have, some of these things that I want, I already have and possess within me. And so, and I have that power to to manifest my own dreams, basically. And so that's what really spoke to me about this book. It's not very long either. So I think if you haven't read it, pick it up. I think you would really enjoy it. If you enjoy storytelling, if you enjoy anything about growth and development, it has spirituality in here. I think anyone would benefit from this book. It's great. Look, like I said, all my books just fell, like all of them. But like I said, I dibble and dabble. I don't just read one particular genre. So the next book I have, speed up, is Powernomics by Claude Anderson. I think I've touched on this book before, but if not, I'll give a brief synopsis. Basically, you guys have probably seen, you know, memes or clips of Claude Anderson, you know, talking about the Black community, talking about, you know, building us up and different things that we should be doing to change our conditions as Black people in America. And so he literally, this book was published in what, 2001? Y'all, he is talking about things that hadn't even happened yet, but I've seen with my own eyes manifest. Like, he talks about the gentrification in DC and Baltimore, and it's like now years later I've seen the end result of it. Like, he predicted that stuff happening in here. He talks about the criminal justice system. He talks about education and how it's lacking and how the price of education goes up, but the quality of education that we're getting is not matching that. It's staying the same, it's stagnant. And so it's not reflecting what the times are. It's not reflecting how we need to survive. He talks about the economy. He's really big on economy and, you know, the economics of building up Black communities, you know, utilizing the Black dollar to bring back jobs and entrepreneurship and things like that. So if you're a Black entrepreneur, read this book. If you're in the Black community, read this book. If you want to support the Black community, like this, the stuff that he teaches here can be, you know, translated to any group or population that's been underrepresented, you know, neglected and things like that in society. But I think it really speaks to the history of where we came from as Black people, you know, having our own businesses and having our own doctors, lawyers, and things like that, and coming so far. And then in the civil rights movement, when we integrated, we sort of lost the clear picture of having our own. You know, there's nothing wrong with integrating. There's nothing wrong with, you know, sharing the wealth, as you say, but at the same time, it's like when all our money is going to other businesses, other companies, and we're losing sight of all the things that we can do. He really talks about that. He's very strong with it in this book. And so I think this book really, you know, just widened my eyes really to what is actually going on out here in these streets. It was really like a wild card for me. I've never read anything by her before, but I had seen it recommended, well, talked about on another channel that I frequent a lot. So this is Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde, and she's no longer living, but she's a big feminist, Black woman, educated. She's lesbian, so it was a lot of different things that I wasn't, like, I don't label myself a feminist. You know, I'm not a lesbian, and of course I'm a Black woman. So just hearing something from someone else's perspective, a lot of times when people read, they go with what they're comfortable with. And, you know, so I was really ready to be challenged in this book and really ready to see, you know, what she was about. Because I think, you know, she, you know, grew up in the 50s and 60s, 70s, and, you know, during that period. So it was interesting for me as well. And so this book is like a collection of her essays and speeches and like some of the things that she's wrote before, or she has written before. Ugh. But as you can see, there are a lot of tabs here. Throughout this entire book, like, I was sitting here snapping like, yes, like I can't believe she said that, or that's what I say all the time. So it's like, really, I started highlighting, but I was like, no, I'm not trying to mess up my book like that. So I started putting sticky notes into places where I felt she was really hitting the head on the nail. Like, she was just saying, you know, things that are relatable today. Like, she was, you know, talking about how, you know, feminists, people see feminists as, you know, just an entire group, but you have to understand a Black experience is not one thing. Like, my experience being coming from two different backgrounds as a Black woman, my experience will be different from my friend who has two Black parents. Whereas her experience as a Black woman is different because she's a Black woman in like the 50s, 60s, lesbian, was married to a white guy. So she has biracial children. And then now she's growing up in an era to where, you know, she's a Black lesbian feminist. And so she talks about dealing with, you know, that push and pull of people not totally accepting her, but then trying to use her as the token Black person in discussions, but not fully encompassing how, you know, they have privileges and biases against her, and how her own privileges and biases affect the community and things like that. And so it was really very eye-opening, and I would probably read this again, just go to my tabs to where, you know, I marked everything up. But I would recommend this book to everyone. Her prose is so out of this world. She's very eloquent and very smooth. It just flows. It's very, yeah. I went through this book in like a week, and when I was done, I was just sitting here like, it's over. It's done. So I would recommend this book, Audre Lorde. I'll probably pick up some more of her works. I'm not sure if the works that are in here come in like another form, like separately, or if this is like just a compilation of all her works and then I can get something else. But definitely a great read. Women pick this up of any color, and yeah. Thirsty. It's Mother Goose and her baby. This cup is probably older than I am. Legit. Okay, we're almost done, guys. I promise. I know I've been rambling on a little more than I thought. Hey, my books fell over. That's what that noise was. The next book I have is a contemporary piece. It's very popular right now because she actually has another book that's out that I just ordered, by the way, but I'll cover that in my next video of my book haul. But this is Everything, Everything by Nicola Yoon. And And this sort of took me back to the day, you know, when you read stuff in high school and it's love and it's so great and they're teenagers and it's like, oh, I remember those days. And the story is very unique. Like, I don't want to give any spoilers, but basically it reminded me a lot of The Secret Garden. Random, but it has something, a similar theme to this. But basically this girl, Madeline, she's allergic to everything. And basically, she can't go outside or anything like that. And this boy moves in next door and, you know, he sort of befriends her. And then she starts, you know, wanting to go outside. But it's like, girl, it could kill you. So, yeah, it's a very good book. I read this in 4 hours. I, like, stayed up to, like, 12 reading this book. And I was just like, it was so cute. I got this book randomly. I just walked into the store and got it. And then I let my younger sister read it first because I was reading another book at the time. And I don't like to, like, stop one book and start reading another because then it's like the emotions get too mixed for me. So she read it and she said it was really good. So then I had to read it and I read it in, like, 4 hours, like I said. And it was just great. It was really cute. And I really like her writing style. And I like her theme of, like, how, you know, the kids were, like, you know, different race. The girl was mixed. And I just thought it brought a fresh perspective to contemporary writing. And I thought it was really cute. So I really like this book. And I'm excited to read her other book too. The next book I have really did wonders for me. And let me tell you, I'll talk about this a little bit more in my next video about my plans for 2017. But writing has always been my pastime. It has been my ways of coping, of getting things off my chest, and just because I work in the counseling field, so a lot of the things I go through, I can't disclose to anyone. So it's like, who do you talk to? Ghostbusters. But it really got me, writing really got me through. Reading and writing really saved me in 2016. I'm not even gonna lie. That really saved me. So this book I got because I really wanted to grow with my writing. So it's Stephen King on Writing, a Memoir of the Craft. And it's sort of like his autobiography, but he puts a different twist on it. Its main focus is on his growth as a writer and sort of how little things in his life and little things that he's experienced led him to be the writer that he is today. Now, this is honestly the first thing that I've ever read by Stephen King. Yes, I'm embarrassed to say that because I love his movies. Carrie, it scared the shit out of me, and I probably still wouldn't watch that by myself. Green Mile, John Coffey, like, I didn't even know he wrote that. And a lot of these movies I first saw when I was like 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. So you're not really paying attention to the opening credits and ending credits and things like that. So I just knew Stephen King. I thought he was like a movie director or something, and maybe he's directed something, who knows? But I never knew that these movies were based off of his books. So in reading this, he really breaks it down of, you know, he's very funny. There was some LOLs, like I'm talking like I actually chuckled in reading this book. And that hasn't happened to me in a while. So, you know, he has a very good sense of humor and it's very sarcastic and I like that. So he goes in about different parts of his life, but there's always the same thing about him and his writing, like him writing comics when he was younger, you know, him getting in trouble for writing something in school, you know, different things like that. And then towards the end, he sort of goes into his own little toolbox, tips and tricks that he does when he's writing that sort of helps him hone in and focus. Now, this book isn't like a how-to. Like, I try and stay away from how-tos. That's just my personal preference, just because I think it's all about finding what works best for you and finding your own groove to things. So he really does that to where he recommends things, but he's not saying that this will necessarily work for you, but this is what's been working for me. And with 50 plus books out and movies and all that jazz, boo ain't doing too shabby. So yeah, it was a great book. So if you're interested in writing, I would say pick this up. And the last book I read in 2016, I actually got this for Christmas from my boo. Hey, Marlon. I actually put on my Christmas list that all I wanted was books, and I put the specific books, and he went out and got me the books I wanted. Take notes, fellas. If your girl says she wants this and you get her a variation of that, she probably won't be as happy as she was when she said she wanted this. But this book is said by Toni Morrison to be required reading, which I think it is. This is Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me. This book, ending my 2016 year, really just got me pumped to read more. It was great. The prose was phenomenal, and he sort of writes from the black male perspective of what it means to be a black man in America. And he's not really going into all the political stuff about it, but he's just talking about his own experiences. And what connected to me most of all is that he's from the area which I live. He's from Baltimore. He went to school in Howard. You know, he talks about, you know, living in PG or, you know, and things like that. And just, he's sort of writing this as an open letter to his son. And he's sort of like trying to prepare his son for what it means to be black, a black man in America, or even a black person. He really talks from the male perspective, which was something I felt like I needed to read, because a lot of times in the black community, there's this whole push and pull about, you know, black men got it worse off, black women got it worse off, but baby, being black is hard enough without us fighting each other. And just reading this really, it pulled at some heartstrings. There was a time where I actually did shed a tear. And that's where I gauge my books off of. If I can cry in a book, like reading it like I would a movie, then I know it was good. I know it was good. And it takes a lot for me to really just like get choked up. But there were some parts in here to where I was just like I had to put it down. I had to walk away. So I think this is required reading. It's a short book. So I feel like, and it's small. So ladies, you can throw this in your bag. Fellas, if you got like a backpack or something, like, I think every black man should read this book. I think every black woman should read this book. Like, I don't want to give any spoilers because I feel like you should go into this book not knowing what to expect. But it's just, yeah, like it doesn't even give you like a summary on the back. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. You guys pick up this book, read it, live it, love it. It's great. So that's pretty much all I have for this video. Those were all my top picks from 2016. I didn't read like a great extensive amount of books, but those were the ones that really, you know, I felt like helped me to improve in my reading, writing, or my personal self. So this year, I'm going to continue to put up videos more consistently. I'm going to read more. I'm writing more, and I will touch in about what I'm writing for 2017. I really am just excited, and I'm happy to be here. Let's see what this year has in store for us. So tune in next time, and I'll holler at y'all later.